The very first case the Supreme Court takes up the day after Trump is inaugurated is going to have major implications for what we call forum shopping. The case involves tobacco manufacturer Reynolds. My name is Dina Sayegh Doll with the Legal AF channel. Let's break this down. So there are a few ways that somebody can file a case and be heard either in state court or federal court. You have to satisfy things such as subject matter jurisdiction to make sure either the state court or the federal court has jurisdiction over the issue you're filing, as well as personal jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction means that you have to basically be located in the jurisdiction where a case is filed. Let's say you live in California, you don't do business anywhere else, then you can't be sued, let's say in New York, because you don't live there. Practically would be impossible. It's inefficient for you have to travel down to New York. And the same is true for companies. So this idea that you have to have personal jurisdiction normally would be seen as a good thing by companies because they want to do a case in a trial where their general counsel is located, where their headquarters are located. They don't want to have their lawyers always traveling across country in order to defend lawsuits. But this is all getting turned on its head because of the latest forum shopping, which is becoming more and more popular, especially under Trump and MAGA. They're kind of honestly trying to come up with creative ways to take down the administrative state, as they call it, basically to gut the rules and regulations that keep us safe across the board. And the latest has to do with tobacco regulation. So the company Reynolds is fighting the regulation that implemented rules related to vaping, related to e-cigarettes, because rules need to be updated with new technology. So they included vaping, and they would normally be able to file this under personal jurisdiction in the location where they are, which is the Fourth Circuit, or in the DC Circuit, because that is where the government headquarters are. The DC Circuit is known to litigate all of the things related to the government. And so those justices are considered almost like a mini Supreme Court. And most of our Supreme Court justices come out of the DC Circuit because they are so well versed in government issues because so many cases relating to the government are brought there. Well, Reynolds didn't want to file on either the Fourth Circuit or the DC Circuit because they knew they would lose just based on, prior opinions and the temperaments and frankly, the politics of the judges. So they decided, yes, to file in the Fifth Circuit because, as we know, the Fifth Circuit has been willing to take these kind of like outrageous positions regarding the administrative state, with the abortion pill, and in all sorts of areas. So how they try to get around the rule regarding personal jurisdiction is by adding a retailer, by adding basically like a local store who sells their products to the petition. So it wouldn't be just them. So they tried to get around the personal jurisdiction. And what is going to come before the Supreme Court in that oral argument that is going to be heard a day after Trump is inaugurated is this legal? Can they do this? Now, if the Supreme Court allows this by adding a retailer, they will basically be circumventing personal jurisdiction in terms of, because it will be so easy for a company to add a retailer because every company, is able to, is sold, right, throughout these 50 states. So if the Supreme Court allows this, forum shopping will be, really accelerated and here to stay. On the one hand, it will make it better for companies like the tobacco manufacturer to have favorable rulings, because they will go in front of judges that will give them favorable rulings. I think, though, that it will also make it easier for them to get sued in other jurisdictions because if they're going to be allowed to initiate a lawsuit, they should be able to defend a lawsuit by adding on a retailer. So that could cut against them. And I don't think they've really thought of that. But their main focus is not to be regulated and to go in front of a judge that's favorable. And the problem also with this is that a lot of times the judge will, as we've talked about, and unprecedented with Michael Popak, there's another issue that the Supreme Court is also going to look at, which is these universal injunctions. So let's say in this situation with the tobacco or any of these other forum shopping, that initial judge can issue a universal injunction. They could say, this regulation isn't fair. We want to stop it until the issue goes through the court. So that one judge in that one forum shopping can stop a law for years, because as we know, it takes a long time for many of these cases to be litigated. And so the combination of forum shopping and universal injunctions means that one judge anywhere in this country can cause a lot of harm. Now, the problem that we talked about on our Unprecedented show is getting rid of universal injunctions, which is something that actually the Biden administration was asking the Supreme Court to do, is something we would have wanted during the Biden administration because frankly, they were using that one judge in Texas, Kaczmarek, to stop the lawful abortion pill across the country. But now that we're getting into the Trump era, we're going to want to use the universal injunctions to protect us across the country from Trump's, as we know, are going to have really drastic illegal laws on the books, and one judge can pause it while the case goes up. So we have these two really big issues: universal injunctions that allow one judge to pause the enforcement of a law while the case is implemented, which could be good or bad, depending on if the law is good, let's say under Biden, or bad under Trump, and then whether or not you have forum shopping. So if you have the combination of the two, if you allow forum shopping, which in this case is just adding a retailer, it would be so easy to add a retailer or an individual who uses a product to a petition. If you allow in the forum shopping by getting around the personal jurisdiction, and you have universal injunctions in place, you can, really, you can make that one judge in the middle of the country like exponentially so powerful. Whereas now how it is yes, you have these universal injunctions, but you don't have the forum shopping to the extent that this Reynolds case would allow. This Reynolds case would really open up forum shopping, because right now you still have this personal jurisdiction component, especially with companies, making it very, more difficult, let's say, to get to the Fifth Circuit if they're headquartered in the Fourth Circuit. If they allow in a retailer, you have really expanded the ability to forum shop and have universal injunctions. So that's where that's at. We will update on the Unprecedented show how that oral argument plays out. But these are the things that are going to decide really like the limits. Will there be limits on judicial power, the Supreme Court power? It's these kind of procedural decisions that end up making such a big difference. And we will always keep you updated on these really important developments in the law on the Legal AF channel.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.